Okay, so today's lesson is on lesson 5.3, and it's problem solving using distributive property. And distributive property is a giving property. We find one number and we give it to these other numbers. We multiply it by it. Um, it's probably the toughest property to learn and kind of understand, but once you kind of get the hang of it, it's really kind of easy to do. But it's the hardest to get that, and I'm glad that we're going back over this. So it says the school assembly has 5 rows of chairs with 20 chairs in each row. So we have 5 rows of chairs with 20 chairs in each row. If the third grade classes fill 3 rows of chairs, how many third graders are at the assembly? So first off, we need to find out this. I need to find out how many third graders are at the assembly. That's the first thing we're looking for. And what information do I need to use? Well, we know that there are how many chairs in a row? There are 20 chairs in each row. And the third graders fill how many rows? If the third grade class fills 3 rows, so the third grade class will fill 3 rows. And then how will I use this information? It says the distributive property tells me I can the factor 20 to multiply. I can what to the factor of 20? Well, we can break apart. We can take 20 and break it into 10 and 10. If as long as it equals 10, we can do this as many times. It can be 10 and 10. It could be 5, 5, 5, and 5. It could be anything as long as it equals 20. But let's make it 10 and 10 to make it simpler because we know what 3 times 10 is. So now what I'm going to have to do is I have to give this 3 to this 10 and this 3 to this 10. Okay? The same 3 goes to the same 10. They also did it here. They did 3 down, 10 across, and broke it off and did 10 across. So we know 3 times 10 is 30. 3 times 10 is 30. Now we take these two products and we add them together to get a sum. So 30 plus 30 equals 60. So 3 times 20 is 60. So 60 third graders are at the assembly. So we'll do more. So explain how breaking apart the factor 20 makes the product easier. Well, instead of having to count 23 times, we already know what 3 times 10 is. So it makes it easier to multiply. It makes it easier to multiply. Multiplying by 10 is a lot easier than multiplying by 20. It makes it easier to multiply. So it says, we're going to try another one just like what we just did. Megan is watching a marching band practice. The band marches by with 4 rows of people playing instruments. She counts 30 people in each row. How many people march in the band? So there's 4 rows with 30 people in each row. So first off, what do we need to find? How many people march in the band? It's the last sentence. How many people march in the band? How many people march in the band? That's what we're looking to find. How many people march in the band? And what information do I need to use? Well, like they did up here. We know there are 4 rows with 30 people in each. There are 4 rows with 30 people in each. There are 4 rows with 30 people in each. How will I use this information? Well, we know our problem is going to be 4 times 30, okay? But really, multiplying by 30 could be tough. So how can I break 30 up? Well, let's break it apart like this. Remember, we can use more than one number or 2 numbers. Let's break it up like this. 4 times, and let's break it up. 10 plus 10 plus 10. I'm going to give this 4 to this 10, to this 10, and to this 10. Okay? So I'm going to have 3 equations. I'm going to go down. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to mark it off all the way across because we're going to use 4 all the way across. So now I have 4 times 10 plus 10 plus 10. We know there's going to be little times here, and this is going to be in parentheses. So it's going to look like this. 4 times 10 plus 4 times 10 plus 4 times 10. And I know 4 times 10 is 40. So it's going to be 40 plus 40 plus 40. So 40 plus 40 is 80. 80 plus 40 is 120. So it's going to be 120 people. How can you tell if our answer is reasonable? How can you tell if our answer is reasonable? Means how do we know? Well, 4 times 30 is 120. We have figured that out. Well, let's try something else. What's 4 times 3? 4 times 3 is 12. You see a correlation? If I add a 0, I add a 0. So 4 times 30 is 120. We know 4 times 3 is 12. We just added 10 to it. We added a 10 in the multiplication, which gives us an extra 100. Okay? So 4 times 30 is 120, and we know that 3 and 30 are very different. 12 and 120 are very different, but look, we know 4 times 3 is 12. Explain how you use distributive property to help you find the product. What is the answer? It makes it easier to multiply. Or explain how you can use it. We break apart big numbers. We break apart the big numbers and distribute the other number, which means give the other number out. The other number to make it easier to multiply. So we break apart big numbers and distribute the other number to make it easier to multiply. Let's say the other factor. The other factor to make it easier to multiply. I'll give you guys a second to copy that. If you can pause the video, pause it. If you guys can't watch the YouTube version, if you're stuck watching the Microsoft version, you try to watch the YouTube version. If it blocks it, scroll down. You guys might be able to log into it and unblock it. Because I've put it made for kids, and If you're watching on one of the school tablets. Now, if you have a tablet, if you have a phone, if you have any type of device other than this, if you're using a school device and you have another device, maybe even a phone, or a desktop computer, you guys can watch the YouTube video on that, and that wouldn't be a problem. And you can just go to YouTube and search my name. All right, so now we're gonna do the next one. It says, people filled all the seats in the front section of the theater. The front section has 6 rows with 40 seats in each row. How many people are in the front seat? So they've already started breaking this up. They're breaking 40 up. This whole thing across is 40. They're breaking it up into smaller rectangles. 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10. Because 10 plus 10 is 20, plus 10 is 30, plus 10 is 40. And they already did it. 6 times 10 is 60. So this block's going to be 60. This block's going to be 60. This block's going to be 60. So they broke it up. 6 times 10 is 60. 6 times 10 is 60. 6 times 10 is 60. And 6 times 10 is 60. And once you find all the products, you can take the products and find a sum. So 60 plus 60 plus 60 plus 60. Well, that's hard to do. Let's line it up like this, because that's what we're used to. That's super hard to do. We need 4 60s. 0 all the way down is 0. Let's skip count 6. 6, 12, 18, 24. 4, carry my 2. 2 plus nothing, it's 2. So it's 240. So there are 240 people in the front section of the theater. 240 people in the front section of the theater. It says, what if the seats are added to the front section of the theater? So now that there are 6 rows. What if there are seats added to the front section of the theater so that there are 6 rows of 50 seats? How many seats would there be? So we have 6 rows. Let's say they added another row. Another 10. So now instead of 40, we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. This would still be 60. And all we have to do is add 60 more to 240. So we take 240 plus 60, and let's do it right here. 0 plus 0 is 0. 6 plus 4 is 10. 0 carry my 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. So 240 plus 60 is 300 seats. All they did was make another section. All they did was make another section. I'll give you guys a few seconds to get this all copied down. Okay. The Think Smarter question. Tova sewed 60 pieces of blue ribbon together to make a costume. Each piece of ribbon was 2 meters long. She also sewed 40 pieces of red ribbon together that were 3 meters long. So 60 of blue and 40 of red. Did Tova use more blue ribbon or red ribbon? Well, let's figure out what she used of blue. That's first. So I'm going to put a B for blue. I'm going to work down here in the bottom. She used 60 pieces of blue that were 2 meters long. So we have 2 times 60. Okay? What number can we break apart? Let's break apart our 60. So let's break it apart into, let's say, We'll do 6 numbers. 2 plus 10, or 2 times, I'm sorry. 2 times 10 plus 10 makes 20, plus 10 makes 30, plus 10 makes 40, plus 10 makes 50, plus 10 makes 60. And I know for a fact I got to give this 2 to all these 10s. Well, I don't have enough space for that right now. We don't have space. So let's just skip count. 2 times 10 is 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. Because each of these are now going to be 20, because 2 times 10 is 20. So it's 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. So they used 120 of blue. And now I'm going to do R for red. They used 40 pieces that were 3 meters long. So let's give our 3 and break up 40. 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, because 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 makes 40. So if I give my 3 to this 10, it's 30. So it's going to be 30, 60, 90. 90 plus 30 equals 120. So did she use more blue ribbon or more red ribbon? Well, Tova used the same amount. She didn't use more blue or more red. Tova just used the same amount. Tova just used the same amount. Remember, if you need to pause it right now, because I know this is a pretty big question. This would take an extra sheet of paper. If we were in school, I would project it. Miss Campbell would do the same. But right now, we're just going to keep it like this. Karina draws this diagram to show that 8 times 30 is 210. Explain the error. Okay, let's figure it out. We know 8 times 10 is 80. So 8 times 10 is 80. 8 times 10 is 80. So let's take 80 plus 80 plus 80, and let's add them. 0 all the way down is 0. 8 plus 8 is 16. 16 plus 8 is 24. 4, carry my 2. There's nothing there. Bring it down. So really, she says 8 times 30 is 210, but really, 8 times 30 is 240. So what did she do wrong? She's 30 off, right? So Karina, she actually did 7 times 30. Karina actually did, or let's say Karina added wrong. Oops. Karina added wrong. That's what she did wrong. She didn't add correctly, because 8 times 10 is 80. And if she did 80 straight across, she would have got 240. But she got 210, which means she kind of added wrong. She also could have multiplied wrong. But let's just, for the sake, let's say she added wrong. Number 5, Tamika wants to display 10 trophies on a table in a rectangular array. How many different ways can Tamika arrange the trophies? So Tamika wants to arrange the 10 trophies on a table in a rectangular array. How many different ways could she do it? This is one of those ones. She could have one row of 10. That shows all, that's a straight line. She could have 2 rows, because the total has to be 10. Remember that. 1 times 10 is 10. she could have 2 rows of 5, which equals 10. Or she could have 10 rows of 1, which equals 10. What kind of property is that? Or she could have 5 rows of 2, which equals 10. So she could have 4 ways. One row of 10, 2 rows of 5, 10 rows of 1, or 5 rows of 2. Because those are what equals 10. You could have 4 ways. If you have this chart right here, this chart definitely explains it to me. The Go Deeper question. The drama club has 350 tickets to sell. They sell 124 on Monday and 98 tickets on Tuesday. How many tickets does the drama club have left to sell? Well, they sold 124 on Monday and 98 on Tuesday. Let's see how many that is. So they sold 124 on Monday and 98 on Tuesday. Let's see how many they sold. 8 plus 4 is 12. 2, carry my 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 9 is 12. 2, carry my 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So they've sold 222 tickets, but they need to sell 350. So we're going to take 350 and we're going to subtract it from 222. 0 minus 2, we can't do. More on the floor, go next door. The 5 now becomes a 4. The 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. 4 minus 2 is 2. And 3 minus 2 is 1. So this is our final answer. How many tickets do they have left to sell? 128 tickets. 128 tickets. I know these last, let me minimize this a little bit. I know this has been a pretty lengthy lesson. So this is the last question before your turn, Luke. It says select all the equations that show distributive property. 3 times 20, well, they broke 20 up into 10 and 10, and did they give the 3 to the 10? Yes. That does show distributive property. This does not. This is associative property. The grouping property. 5 times 10 plus 5 times 10 is the same as 5 times 20. That does show it, because 10 and 10 make 20. They just broke 20 up again. 9 times 2 plus 9 times 4 equals 9 times 6. How do you make 6? 4 and 2. 4 and 2 make 6. Correct. So this does show it. This is not even a big number. They broke 6 up into 4 and 2. You can break any number up you want, as long as you give the other factor to it. So A, C, and D. On the front, write a description of a diagram that can help you solve 2 times 40. You can have 2 rows. You can use 2 rows with 4 parts of 10. 2 rows with 4 parts of 10, because 10 and 4 make 40. And that would look like this. 2 times 10 plus 2 times 10 plus 2 times 10 plus 2 times 10. Okay? That's that one. The lesson check and spiral review will be on the Schoology. I recommend now actually put them on Schoology. If you haven't put any of your lesson checks on Schoology that they've been in the book, you might want to go back and start putting that in, because we didn't think we'd be out of school this long, and midterms come out, and we don't want midterms to sweep it. Okay. So if you've been doing them in the book and you can put them online, go back, because they're in makeup folders. Go back and put them online if you don't care. Okay. Make sure you do this one online. All right. Other than that, you all should be good to go. If you need a pause or something, go back. Try to watch the YouTube version, because I know it's a little bit easier to go back and forth. Okay. You all have a good one.